I have heard you say that the present is old news. That the present is what we've what's right now.
What is manifested now is old news.
Is old news.
Even easier to hear what is in terms of manifestation. What is like gum that you've chewed all the flavor out of it.
Yes, it feels that way.
Yeah.
I have a master's degree, I have a law degree, I have exactly the job to do exactly the type of litigation and exactly the type of industry that I...
So satisfying?
No. No. And so that's what I wanted to talk about is I've heard you say, anything that you manifest through striving, you're not going to enjoy it when you get it, right? Because it was like, that was so hard.
Does it mean that you need to move to another career? In other words, could you stay right where you are and find satisfaction?
So this is the fascinating thing. I have been listening to you talk about living unconditionally, right? Like it's not that you find true joy and alignment.
Which only means,
yes,
living unconditionally means finding alignment. This source energy, vortex, receiving mode, is non-physical. It's non-conditional. It's unconditional. Nothing's manifested, so it's not conditional. The now reality that you were talking about, us talking about, is old news. The way most people are looking at it, it's a whole lot of conditions that exist. In other words, there's the condition of working, and there's the condition of earning, and there's the condition of all the people that I'm interacting with. By virtue of its manifested quality, it has conditions. The non-physical vortex, by virtue of its not yet manifested qualities, it is unconditional. Are you following this a little bit? So when we say be unconditional, we mean get into alignment first and then turn your attention toward whatever you want to. You're not going to be in this body of this earth without focusing on plenty of conditions. But we're asking you to consider, what are you under the influence of when you are noticing the conditions? That's the distinction that we want you to make. It's not about condition or not condition. You can't be in this body and be completely unconditional, but you can be so focused upon the unconditional aspects of who you really are, and you can have practiced that right into personal mastery so that you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and going and flowing and blowing with the source energy. And then when you give your attention to conditions or circumstances or events, you'll still stay in your joy.
Okay.
Because what you're leading up to and what you're trying to get us to say to you is that you need to let go of all conditions, and that's not what we're teaching you at all. If that had been your intention, you would have stayed in the non-physical where your inner being is.
Okay, good. So then one thing that I wanted to ask about was when desires change. Because through this experience...
As desires change. As they constantly evolve.
Yes.
And amend and modify.
Yes.
You're either growing or you're dying.
Okay, so that's great. Because all of a sudden, most of my present, just in my professional life, is not bringing me joy. I mean, I go into work...
Well, then you're not looking hard enough. We're not going to let you bail out this easy.
Okay, cool.
Because... you know what you're wanting to do? You're trying to make the unconditional, you're trying to dump off all the conditions so that you can be unconditional. We don't want you to have to leave the conditions behind in order to be unconditional. We want you to be vibrationally in alignment as you then observe and approach conditions. Can you feel the distinction? You can stay right where you are, essentially doing right what you're doing, and still find satisfaction. We don't want you to take away from all of these discussions the fact that you need to go someplace different.
So thank you, because that's what I've been wondering.
I know.
I'll sit, because I'm an attorney, I'm a second-year associate, I have billable hour requirements. So I'm supposed to be working at my job, and billing my clients. And I just want to sit there and be present and aligned with source because it feels so good. And I have all these...
Well, what about being aligned with source and therefore being intuitive, and being aligned with source and therefore being inspired, and being aligned with source and therefore having an impulse that leads to something? What about being really good at your job because you're aligned with source?
Yes, I think I am those things.
Because something that you believe that isn't true, you believe that your source won't go to work to that job with you.
You know what? You're right, because the people bum me out. They bum me out because I walk in.
The people don't bum you out. You choose to be bummed out, and you choose to blame it on the people.
You're so right. Oh.
You're choosing to be bummed out rather than satisfied when both options are always available to you.
Okay. But shouldn't we, because like, for example, my favorite time of day is commuting, like my travel into work, whether I'm driving or walking.
Of course it is, because you feel more in control of the conditions.
I love it. And
Can you feel what she's doing? She's trying to make an unconditional conversation be about just letting go. The fewer the conditions, then the least conditional I am. That's not mastery.
Okay.
That's still manipulating conditions.
Yeah, apparently I need to let go. This is what the universe has been telling me for a year, and I'm working on it, and I think I'm better.
But what are you letting go of?
I don't know.
Well, let's sort it out. Are you letting go of conditions? Or are you letting go of flawed premises? Are you letting go of thoughts that hinder you? Are you letting go of beliefs that are in the way of your desires? You know, you have a lot of momentum going. How much schooling and how much training? You've put a lot of momentum into this thing that could be incredibly satisfying. And don't you want to get the satisfaction out of it?
Okay, so I have a false belief.
Yeah.
Right now. Okay.
Yeah, a pile of them.
Okay. Okay.
You believe that because there are unpleasing elements to an environment, that there's no satisfaction to be had. We just want to give you the list of flawed premises. The most significant flawed premise is that I need to control the conditions, which I can't. And I'm even using my backup Abraham, who tells me to not try to control conditions. And since I can't control conditions, and the conditions that are here that I can't control are not pleasing to me, then I can't be satisfied. That's not what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is letting something be more important than the conditions, like your thoughts, like your response to things, like your connection with source energy, like your emotional feeling of satisfaction. Another flawed premise that you have is that you got off on the wrong foot somewhere and approached the wrong career that has no potential of making you happy. That's a flawed premise. Because what that means is I had no guidance back then, which isn't true. There was no positive emotion, which wasn't true.
It felt right at the time. It felt right at the time.
Therefore, it had to be. So think what you do to yourself when you say, well, it felt right at the time, but it doesn't feel right now. Therefore, I was stupid then.
Right. Lots of self-flagellation. Yes. Yes. Lots.
Another flawed premise is that that particular environment has no redeeming qualities, that there's really no joy to be had in sorting out conflict. We could go on with the flawed premises. So now let's sort it out. So here you stand. Remember the story about Jerry and Esther in Orlando, and Esther wanting to go back to the beginning to figure out where she went wrong. We don't think that's a good idea. Jerry didn't think it was a good idea either. And so just start right where you are, which is all you've got. It's where all of your power is. And just ask yourself a somewhat simple question. What do you want most in life? Now, we didn't ask you how you're going to get it, where you're going to get it, who's going to help you get it, when it's going to come. We just asked the question, what do you want most from right where you stand? You already said it to us.
Joy. I want to feel good.
I want satisfaction. I want to feel happy. So, I want to feel happy. Now, your inner being is wanting to say to you, that's a done deal, because your vortex is full of potential for all of that. And can you feel how much more freeing it is to just say, all right, from here forward, from here forward, I will look for things wherever I am that are satisfying. The mantra that we've been offering for a long time. Today, no matter where I'm going, no matter what I'm doing, no matter who I'm doing it with, it is my dominant intention to look for what I'm wanting to see. You want to tune yourself. You don't want to change the world. You want to tune yourself. You don't want to change the environment. You want to tune yourself. You don't want to change the conditions. You want to tune yourself. Tune yourself to the whole of you. Now, here's the thing. Have you heard us say, you have, because we've said it a lot, but we want to remind you, have you heard us say that if this time-space reality has the wherewithal to produce a desire within you, then this time-space reality has the wherewithal to give you the goods.
Always.
That's been a sort of general statement that we've made. If your life can cause you to want this, then your life can give you the path to the fulfillment of that. You follow? Yeah. Now we want to say it more specific. If that work on that path, in that job, in that vocation, has the wherewithal to make you desire joy, then that job on that path has the wherewithal to give you that joy that you seek. And feel the enormous resistance you were feeling as you were thinking, oh, I got to dump all of that off, and all of that was a waste, and now I got to start over on something, and now what am I going to do? You're not going to do any of those things. You're just going to pick up right where you are with all of the momentum that both your desire and contrast have produced for you, and move on to even more joyful life experiences. Doesn't that feel better?
Yes.
And if you can resist the temptation to ask how, where, when, who, and just stay fixated on how you want to feel good. So now we have some questions for you. Do you accept that your inner being exists?
Yes.
Do you accept the reality of the vibrational reality?
Yes.
Do you accept, or do you think, do you believe, do you know that your vibrational reality is rich and fertile and robust with all kinds of magnificent potential seeds that will lead to magnificent things in your life experience because of the very work that you're now thinking about abandoning?
Yes.
Do you know that a large percentage, we'd say more than 50% of what's in your vortex right now came from that, which means the potential for satisfaction from that is enormous?
Wow. Okay. I'm supposed to say yes, right? I'm supposed to say yes.
Well, wouldn't it be just the most wonderful thing if you could be an example to yourself and maybe to the world that you can stand right where you are and be joyful? Because what's the other message that you might be giving to the world? You all need to go someplace you're not to find happiness. That makes no sense at all. You all need to abandon every right action that you think you took because you were all screwed up and on the wrong course, and now stand in this big void of nothingness and abandon your vortex. That's what you're actually saying. When you want to give up everything that created it, it's like abandoning it too.